हरे कृष्ण। जयो राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। कुंज बिहारी। जयो राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवर धारी। जय गो जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवर धारी। जय यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। जमुना तीरा वनचारी। जमुना तीरा वनचारी। जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवर धारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। जमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम राम, राम हरे हरे। हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम राम, राम राम हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय प्रभुपादा, जय प्रभुपादा, प्रभुपादा, जय प्रभुपादा. जयम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की. जयम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya mudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपः कुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः. Hare Krishna. This morning we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4th, entitled The Creation of Fourth Order, Chapter 25, The Characteristics of King Puranjan, Text 53. Niritti Nama Pasya Dva Taya Yati Puranjana Vaishasham Nama Vishayam Lubdhakena Samanvita. Nirittirnama Pasyadva Nirittirnama Pasyadva Taya Yati Puranjana Taya Yati Puranjana Vishasham Nama Vishayam Vishasham Nama Vishayam Lubdhakena Samanvita Lubdhakena Samanvita. Nirittirnama Pasyadva Taya Yati Puranjana Vishasham Nama Vishayam Lubdhakena Samanvita. Nirittirnama Pasyadva Taya Yati Puranjana विशशं नाम विषयं लुब्धकेना समन्विता। श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन भगवान की, श्री श्री गौरनिताय चंद्र भगवान की, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की। प्लीज रिसाइट। निरुक्तिर्नाम पश्चाद्वा तया याति पुरंजना। वैशसं नाम विषयं लुब्धकेन समन्विता। निरुक्तिर्नाम पश्चाद्वा तया याति पुरंजना। वैशसं नाम विषयं लुब्धकेन समन्विता। समनाम विषयं लुब्धकेन समन्विता। Anybody from Vaishnavis? We'll see what word meaning. Niritti, of the name Niritti. Nama, called. Paschat, western. Dva, gate. Taya, by which. Yati, used to go. Puranjana, King Puranjan. Vaishasam, of the name Vaishasa. Nama, called. Vishayam, to the place. Lubdakena, by the friend named Lubdaka. Samanvita, accompanied. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Another gate on the western side was known as Niritti. Puranjana used to go through this gate to the place known as Vaishasa, accompanied by his friend Lubdhaka. So please recite the translation in response. Another gate on the western side was known as Niritti. Puranjana used to go through this gate to the place known as Vaishasa, accompanied by his friend Lubdhaka. Purport. This is a reference to the rectum. The rectum is supposed to be situated on the western side of eyes, nose, and ears. This gate is especially meant for death. When an ordinary living entity abandons his present body, he passes through rectum. It is therefore painful. When one is called by the nature to evacuate, one also experiences pain. The friend of the living entity who accompanies him through this gate is named Lubdhaka, which means greed. Due to our greed, we eat unnecessarily, and such gluttony causes pain at the time of evacuation. The conclusion is that the living entity feels well if he evacuates properly. This gate is known as Niritti or the painful gate. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. First of all, I seek blessings of all the assembled devotees, in particular His Grace Anandmay Prabhu. So we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam here, and the section is of Narad Muni teaching to Prachini Parishad. So in the past we have seen how Prachini Parishad is more interested in fruitive activities, and Narad Muni is speaking about a character called Puranjan and what happens to him when he comes to this world. So there is description, he wandered around different places which is suitable for him, for his enjoyment, for his stay. Finally he finds a city of 9 gates. Of course there is description of how he meets one lady whose name is not described. And then there is conversation between that lady and Puranjana. And then there is description of city of this 9 gates. So Bhagavatam gives various concepts of how we are living in this material world, and the concept of how material body functions is explained to us with various examples. So here Narada Muni is explaining to Prachini Parishad that there is a city of 9 gates. And he says that 7 gates are on the surface and 2 gates are subterranean gates, which means it is not very visible on the ground. So then he describes further, there are 5 gates on the east side, 1 each on northern side and southern side, and 2 on the western side. So the 2 western side gates are subterranean gates, and 5 gates which are there on east and 1 each on north and south are gates on the surface. So this city of 9 gates is nothing but a human body. So if we see in a particular way, these 5 gates, which are 2 eyes, 2 nostrils and 1 mouth, and they are on eastern side. So you just imagine that if we pay obeisances in eastern direction, so all these 5 gates open towards eastern side. Our left ear opens towards northern side, our right ear opens towards our southern side, and the 2 openings which we have in the lower portion of body face western side. So in this way, this city of human body has 9 gates, 5 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2. Total 7 plus 2, 9 gates. So each gate has its own accompaniment of how this Puranjan enjoys with. In the past few verses we have seen, there is description of eyes, there is description of mouth, there is description of nostrils, there is description of left ear and right ear, and now in the last verse and this verse there is description of anus and rectum. So in the past, the previous verse we have seen that gate which is named as, what is the other gate on the western side? Asuri. Asuri means generally demoniac. So with that gate he goes to a city called as Gramaka, which generally means sense gratification. With that gate, with that organ, everybody wants sense gratification. In fact, anybody who got this material world, material body, the reason we got material body is that we want to enjoy in a particular way. We deserve a particular enjoyment, or we desire a particular enjoyment because of which this body is awarded to us. Especially in this material world, the attraction of opposite sex is very strong, and that is what the enjoyment in specific refers to this gate. So we have seen in this verse, Prabhupada is explaining about how a living entity wants as much sense gratification as he can, and he not just he can, he wants more than that. Nobody in this material world will say that I had enough of sense gratification, now I don't desire sense gratification. That does not happen. Hmm? So sense gratification, the tendency of sense gratification is so strong, that it doesn't see any age or any bar. So in the past verse when I was reading few purports, there is description of how even when a person becomes very very old, his senses are not capable of doing sense gratification, but still he has tendency to do sense gratification. The tendency does not go. So in this regard, one story is there of probably Akbar and Bilbal. I don't know if you have discussed that story or not. So once it said that Akbar asked Birbal that this attraction for opposite sex, till when it will be there? He asked like that. Birbal said that even if you become very very old, this attraction or the tendency to enjoy will not go. Akbar was little doubtful that how is it possible? Once you cross the age of 50, 60, 70, you can hardly enjoy anything. So, how the tendency is there? So, Birbal said, wait for a time. I will let you know when this lesson is needed for you to be taught. So, one fine day, Birbal caught Akbar and said, come, come, come. I will take you somewhere. And he told that, bring your young daughter also along. So Akbar was puzzled, but generally because he is a very good king, he followed the order and he was walking and he said that I am taking to a man who is just about to die, like 100, 110 years. Nothing is working in his body. I just want to show him. So when they reach to his residence, Akbar tells, Birbal tells Akbar's daughter, you wait for a while. Then he takes Akbar first into the house where this guy is on his deathbed. So Birbal goes in, he tells the dying person that the emperor of this city, Akbar, is here. And he hardly makes any, visible response for Akbar to even see. He says, Akbar says, see, what can I do? He's just dying. He can't even open his eyes. Then Akbar asked Birbal, why have you got me here? Why should I see this dying person? In this material world, everyone is dying. So many people are dying. And modern civilization is very proud by accelerating death in the form of wars. But anyways, this person is dying. Akbar asks, why have you brought me here? Then Birbal smiles and says, wait. Then he indicates his daughter to come in. The daughter being very well dressed, she had anklets also. And when this girl was walking inside the house, the sound was coming. Chan, the anklet sign, chan. So many people in this material world, especially men, when they hear the sound of anklet, they imagine that the woman who is wearing the anklet is very beautiful. That is the imagination of a man. So this guy who was on the deathbed, he also started thinking that, oh, there is a woman. Then he turned his head. Why? Because in his heart also there was chan chan. He turned his head and he opened his eyes and he saw, who is that woman who is coming inside my house? And Akbar and Birbal were standing at one corner of the room, and when they saw this whole instance, they were shocked. So in this way, this sense gratificatory tendency is very strong. So that's why in the previous verse we have seen the description of what that sense gratification is all about. And the friend accompanied by Durmada also means madness, if I am not wrong. Anyway, so in this verse there is a description about a gate called Niritti. This gate is also on western side. It is also a subterranean gate, and which is called for pain. So generally in this material world, people want sense gratification, but they don't want the pain associated with the sense gratification. Right? So many people go for illegal sense gratification. Like the people smoke, They do all illicit relationships. But the point here is that sense gratification and pain are always together. Hmm? The man runs for sense gratification, he is kicked by the pain. Hmm? He wants to use the gate of Asuri, but he doesn't know along with the Asuri there is Niritti also. Hmm? Every sense gratification you do in this material world, there is pain associated with that. Every sense gratification. Hmm? May that be eating, may that be other types of enjoyment, any enjoyment you do in this material world. That is the reason why this enjoyment and pain, the gates are together on western side. So here, uh, Puranjan is accompanied by a friend called Lubdhaka. Lubdhaka means greed. Hmm. So, this pain comes when we have a lot of greed. Hmm. Just for an example, generally we feel that eating good food is sense gratification. Hmm. Whenever we complete the Ekadashi Vratam, when the Dvadashi Prasadam is there, feast is there, we generally think that I can overeat. General tendency of any person to eat more. If some things are cooked nicely, nice gulab jamun is there, we feel that I should eat more. So that is sense gratification. But what happens is then there is greed. We don't end up eating as much as we need. Like the Ayurveda says, that you should have at least one third or half of your body, half of your stomach empty, so that there is enough airflow for digestion. But we don't use that formula. We may speak that on Bhagavatam class. We may say that Raghunath Das Goswami used to eat 3 drops of buttermilk once in 3 days. It's always speak like that. But when actually sense objects are there in front of us, how much do we really restrain our senses? Is a pact, is a matter of realization. So the greed, especially here, is referred to greed to eat more. We eat one gulab jamun, we feel happy. We eat two gulab jamuns, we eat happy. Three, we happy. We somehow pack something and say that after a while, we eat more. Right at this moment, I am not able to eat more. I will pack so that after my stomach becomes little bit free, then I will eat more. So while eating more, we don't know we are putting the load on our digestive system. And it is a fact that if you eat more, when you evacuate after that, it gives great pain. Like that. So always there is a pain associated with sense gratification. We can never sense gratification plus greed equals to pain. We can have this understanding in our life. Generally, sense gratification has pain, and if you have greed for sense gratification, you will have excessive pain. So, this greed also leads to death. This gate, Nirutti, does not necessarily mean only pain, it also means death. Because when we die, there is excessive amount of pain that a living entity faces. It is described that, any of you, if you have experience of a scorpion bite, at least I did not had that experience. So for me to speak with realization is little difficult. But those who stay on the beaches, you will see that there are so many scorpions inside the sand. And if you are walking on such places and you are not careful, the scorpion can come and give you bite. Although the scorpion is very small living entity, its bite is designed in such a way that when it bites, it gives a very strong, what do you say, a kind of injection, spiked pain. Suddenly, you will feel very great pain. And of course, scorpion also ejects poison when it bites into you. So one scorpion bite itself is very difficult to bear with. And the scriptures speak that there is 40,000 scorpions biting at you simultaneously when you die. So sense gratification, we thought that with this body we will enjoy. Generally, at the time of youth, when the average enjoyment is quite reasonable, we feel that body is full of enjoyment only. Hmm? All these people who are speaking about body is sources of pain and all this is not so relevant. We feel like that. But when you start becoming old, like say 60, 70, and when you can't see, even when you eat, there is pain. When normally a young man eats, he is happy averagely. But when you become 60 plus, even eating becomes painful. And then you don't eat, then there is hunger which is biting you from inside. When you eat, the digestive system is not working. On all sides there is pain only. You can't hear, you feel rejected in the society. Everywhere there is pain only. Hmm? So this pain, uh, when we die, the pain experience is very, very high. So this material body, we think that it is for sense gratification, but ultimately it leads to lot of pain. So specifically, the soul who has enjoyed these subterranean gates, he will leave his body through the rectum and go to hellish planetary system. So in the Bhagavatam, in the other Puranas, it is described that when a living entity leaves his body in a particular way, he goes to higher planetary system. Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter also says. It is described that a perfect yogi, one of the symptom of perfect yogi is that he has his body in his complete control. That is a symptom of a yogi. He eats as per the yogic system. He recreates as per yogic system. So by that, the body remains in his control. And when he wants to leave his body, the perfect yogi sits in a particular way, and from upper portion of his body, through this hole, he leaves his body and goes to higher planetary system. But if he leaves his body through the lower holes, that is this anus and rectum, then he goes to lower state of existence. For example, if somebody leaves his body, specifically when a particular human being leaves his body, and while dying, if he passes stool and urine, that is a sign that he has left his body from the lower portion of his body, and that is considered very inauspicious. He may get a body of lower species, or he may go to lower hellish planetary systems. So this whole idea is that how we regulate our activities, what kind of intake we take, what kind of consciousness we live in, describes our future destination. So the conclusion Prabhupada is telling, the conclusion is that the living entity feels if he evacuates, feels well if he evacuates properly. This is also there. When we get relieved of this pain, for example, we have a stomach pain. If we overeat on a particular day, and then we don't get evacuation, there is a pain in the body. And when you evacuate properly, then we feel a relief kind of a thing. So these all concept of material worlds are explained so that we understand the realities of this material world in a deeper sense. This whole material body, which is a city of 9 gates, is given to us. In the previous verses we have seen that how certain gates can be utilized for developing our Krishna consciousness. These 2 gates which are on western side are very low grade gates. That's why Puranjana, who when he enjoys through this gate, at one gate he feels great pleasure, at another gate he feels great pain. But nonetheless, these 2 western gates are not to be used by a person who is in pure consciousness. Especially excessive sense gratification and excessive greed leads to lower form of existence. So Narad Muni is speaking to Puranjana in a very cryptic way. I can use this word called cryptic way. We read this Bhagavatam, we can conceptualize this in our own life. What kind of consciousness we are carrying through in this material world. So when intelligence this woman, which is described in the previous verses, is intelligence. Then there is various associates in the form of greed, in the form of various associates we have in this body, anarthas. We lead a life in a particular way. When we lead a life in a particular way, Bhagavatam describes that if you live a life in this way, your destination is this. So here Prachini Barishat needed this example, needed this story to relate to himself that what exactly he is doing in this life. When we live a life thinking that this life is all in all, then we think that we have to do a lot of sense gratification. If we know that there is life after life, if we know that there is life after life, then the higher intelligence speaks about what do I do so that my next life is better. So demoniac people or atheistic people, they think that this material body, the goal is sense gratification only. The goal is sense gratification only. So from morning to night, they are driven with this thought that I should enjoy as much as I can. So that kind of life leads to great pain. The greed, when the greed takes over a man, he loses his intelligence. Greed or lust, any anartha takes over a man, he loses his good intelligence. And then finally, when he is told to leave the city of 9 gates, he is lost a wonderful opportunity to revive his Krishna consciousness. So devotees of the Lord see that we are living in this city of 9 gates, but we want to leave this city of 9 gates and go back to Vaikunta. So generally when there is a city description of a city, there is description like this 9 gates. But there is description, another description which Bhagavatam speaks of Vaikunta. You go to 3rd canto or you go to 5th canto, also some places, there is description of Vaikunta. There are nice gates, there are gatekeepers. When you enter the gate, how it is, like that. So this city has, what do you say, little scope for sense gratification, large scope for pain. So the material world is designed like that, or the material body is designed like that, that for little bit of sense gratification, we endure great pain. Sometimes it is also described that this living entity in this material world is like the fish which saw the bait and got hooked. We were happily living in Vaikunta. In Vaikunta there is absolutely no problem. Just like I gave an example here, that if we eat more here, we get pain. Right? You eat 3 gulab jamuns, 4 gulab jamuns. You cannot eat 10th gulab jamun. Like that. But in Vaikunta it is not like that. Vaikunta is a very different place. You can eat as much as you want, still your body will not give you that negative action of strain. In Vaikunta everything is very, very pleasurable. There is no excessive summer, no excessive winter, no climatic problems, no old age problems. Generally, a person when he starts becoming old, he has this habit of hiding his old age. He has this habit of hiding his old age. He thinks that by putting dye, he wants to look young. Or if he goes for a facelift, he will look young. He has very great tendency to hide his old age. But we should know that in Vaikunta, there is no old age at all. In Vaikunta you go, there is no person who will have old age or problems with the old age. So Vaikunta is such a wonderful place. There is always, everybody is young. There is so much of music, there is so much of sense gratification. Not sense gratification, Vaikunta consciousness it is called. So much for the living entity. But little bit we thought that okay, let me enjoy little bit separately from Krishna. Like the fish. The fish has, in a sense, if you go in an ocean, there is so many insects for fish to eat inside the water. But still that fish thought, okay, maybe there is a small bait. I will enjoy that bait also. What happens, that bait has a hook. He eats that bait, and the way the mouth of fish is made like that, that the hook gets stuck into its bone. Once it is stuck with his bone, no matter how much fish, flappers, he cannot get out of that, and then he is caught, and then ultimately he dies. So similarly, in this material world, we think that we are all living in this material world. Generally, that is the consciousness. We say that India's population is 140 crore. The world's population is some 750 or 800 crores. We think that we are living, but we are actually living our death. Because we are left the Vaikunta life and we came to this material world. So when we come to this material world, it comes with all its whips of hunger, thirst, lamentation, greed, grief, so many these things in this material world. So when we actually get this Bhagavatam knowledge, then we actually get this realization that for little bit of sense gratification, it is not good to endure all this, in this material world. Birth, old age, disease, death, adhyatmik, adi daivik, adi bhautik kleshas, so much of suffering does not needs to be endured for sense gratification. So when we learn and understand this from Bhagavatam, and when we know that when we go back to Vaikunta, our real eternal original life is revived. So the whole journey of this material world feels very pitisome. And we feel that the sooner we go back to Vaikunta, sooner we leave this city of 9 gates and enter the city of 4 gates. Vaikunta is described as if it is as 4 gates, and then there is prakaranas, 6 or 7 prakaranas, like that. So the whole goal of Bhagavatam is that we leave this city of 9 gates and go back to the city of 4 gates, that is Vaikunta. So this is what I thought we can discuss in today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. There is further more description about who all associates Puranjana has, some blind associates he has, and then there are few more people whom Puranjana tries to enjoy with. Before Narad Muni concludes this concept of 9 gates. So stay tuned, keep coming for Bhagavatam class to know more about this city of 9 gates and Puranjana's exploration of city of 9 gates. So thank you all very much. If anybody has any questions or any comments, you can please do so. Yes, anybody has any question? Then we can conclude. Yes, anyway. Hare Krishna.
A comment.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, and a question. So, in one of the previous classes, I had heard Bhaktivedanta Bhagavat Maharaj saying that good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment.
Experience comes from
Bad judgment.
bad judgment.
So, you had also said in your class that restraining ourselves from sense gratification is a matter of realization. So, there are a lot of us who are trying to not get that kind of realization, in the sense that we don't want to actually experience that kind of pain. So do you have something for us to say, okay, because the material sense gratification is typically portrayed as extremely attractive. So you have something for us that, to basically look at the other side of that, what is being portrayed.
Okay. So see, generally, the face of sense gratification is very good. Packaging of sense gratification is very good. But the moment we do sense gratification, it leads to, what do you say, a realization that I shouldn't have got into this. So material world or Krishna makes a person go through a particular situation. Say for example, I'm just telling you, when a particular person gets a job, I'm just giving one example which we can relate. The moment he gets job, he becomes very happy. He tells everyone, I got job, I got job. Sometimes when a high paying job, person gets a high paying job, he's still very happy. He tells that I got a very high paying job. But when he gets into the job, when he starts working, when his boss whips him, when his boss whips him, then he cannot really tell what is exactly happening. He tells, job, bagundi. Very nice job. But how much he is frustrated in that job because the boss is beating. The more money, we think that chala dabbu na job, chala manchi. More money paying job is very good. But the more money paying job will more beat you also. So this is one realization of a person we can have. Like when I also got a particular job which was little high paying, I was good job. But when I got into that job, when I saw that how it is hard working, especially I remember a few instances where I used to come back like 2 o'clock in the night and again go at 7 o'clock in the morning. We used to have something called as deadline targets. This boss used to whip 2 o'clock in the night, 7 o'clock in the morning. And we felt, we act also further, lot of work is there, lot of work is there. But the actual reality is just suffering. You get so much money, you don't even do sense gratification with that money. That just imagination that having bank balance, doing this sense gratification. So somebody who gets into job and gets into this phase only can realize what I am speaking. Somebody who is born in Krishna consciousness, never worked, may his life be blessed like that. But that realization comes when you actually go through. Like that, there are so many other things. Only when I was in brahmachari training, so we get to hear this. That a person who hears and understands that this material world is misery, only by hearing and happily understanding, he lives a happy life. But when you want to really experience that how miserable life is, then you have to take up other spaces of life, married life, job, work. Then we get realization, okay, yes, life is miserable. But only by hearing and having that realization, something great. But when you go through realization also, if you come to that realization that yes, material world is misery, that your that experience of life is worth. But yeah, only when you go through that experience, the realization is more strengthened. So better we not get into this. We see our friends, we know what material world, dangers of this material world, and the depth of this danger is there. So we always stay at Krishna's lotus feet, it is good. We don't have to go into this pursuit of living a life of sense gratification. We should actually come out of that. Okay, Prabhu? Yeah, realization is actually Krishna's gift. Sometimes it does not come just by hearing. But when we hear properly through realized souls, then the Krishna's mercy may come like that also. But it is actually Krishna's mercy. Realization is Krishna's mercy. Okay, we may read Bhagavatam also, we may read Prabhupada purports also, but the realization of that is actually Krishna's mercy. Okay? Thank you all very much for giving me opportunity. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Yeah.